सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे। रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः। रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om everyone. In the last session we had seen about Mangalacharanam. We also saw about the different elements of Prasthanatrayi. Because our Mukshu, this Adhikari had a question about, is there something called as eternal happiness? And we said the roadmap to reach there is Prasthanatrayi. Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra. And to help us with that study, there is something called as Prakarana Grantha, which is a subset of all the topics that are covered in Shastra, and it is composed separately. We saw that shloka also. There was a question about what is the exact or direct meaning of the word Prakaranam. A topic which is elaborated very well is called as Prakaranam. A topic which is elaborated very well systematically, that is called as Prakaranam. So if you read the Upanishads, sometimes you'll realize the mantras which are there, the grammar of the words which are used in Upanishads, they are sometimes called as Chandasa Prayoga. Means it was revelations to Upanishad Rishis, so they just went on composing it as and how it was revealed to them. But in Prakarana Grantha, it is done in a very systematic way. I had read one sentence in one book on Mahabharata it was, and that book said, going to the original mantra, let us say if you want to read Mahabharata, if you go to the original shlokas which are there in Mahabharata, it is like the other side of the tapestry, where everything is there, all the threads are there, but you cannot make sense of what is this big picture trying to tell us. But the same shlokas can be written in a very systematic way, like the real side of the tapestry, and you see this beautiful picture come across. So in some way, Prakarana Granthas do that work for us. They take ideas from different Upanishads, they tie it in such a way that the thought flow is very systematic and sequential. That is the meaning of the word Prakaranam. Then we saw this Anubandha Chatushtaya. The literal meaning of Anubandha Chatushtaya means knowledge of that will connect me with that text and keep me inspired. If I know about Anubandha Chatushtaya, knowledge of that Anubandha Chatushtaya will push me forward in my journey towards my goal. And the four components of Anubandha Chatushtaya are Adhikari, means who is the one who will benefit the most from this study or this particular subject. For whom is this work being composed? that person is called adhikari. Vishaya means that object which is elaborated in this particular text or whatever it is. Sambandha is the relationship between the means of knowledge and the object. According to the Vishaya, according to the subject, I will choose an appropriate means of knowledge. That is called as pramana. And Sambandha is the relationship between that pramana and the prameya, what I am looking for, that object which I am looking for. But finally, I had to go and make myself fulfilled with that object. That is called as prayojanam. What is the final result of doing this whole thing? That was the literal meaning of it. And this we saw with one example of this minestrone soup. So adhikari has this desire that, maybe it would be nice to have this soup. So that adhikari is also called as pramata. So these words we should keep in mind. They will get used in other places. We will have a lot of connection when we use the right words. So now how does knowledge of adhikari connect me with the text? That whenever this person having desire to have that soup, when he sees a certain recipe or something, he will say, this is what I was looking for. So that has pushed him an inch further towards the goal. Because his desire was there, that desire pushed him to what he was looking for. The whole advertisement or flyers, whatever we put, that is this only. Meaning what? Some desire is there in somebody, and that desire gets connected with their goal through this means. Like if I have a desire to study Sanskrit, and then I see one flyer which says Sanskrit classes offered here. So this adhikari, because this desire was there, that adhikari will be pushed further now towards that goal. And over here, what is happening next? Vishaya. Vishaya is, about which this desire was there in this adhikari. That Vishaya in this case happens to be minestrone soup. And Vishaya and Prameya can be understood as the same thing. Prameya means that object. Vishaya also means that goal or that object. So according to my desire of having that soup, I will choose an appropriate pramana. Although there are so many recipes available, I'm not interested in other recipes. Recipes of what? Different soups of how to make it. But I will look for only minestrone soup recipe. That is called as pramana. And Vishaya, what it has done now, knowledge of Vishaya, how it has connected us with the text and kept us inspired, it has made us more focused. Everything else has been left aside. We are more focused on what we want to get. What is a sambandha? Sambandha is connection between this recipe and what I want. So whatever this recipe tells me, I am ready to follow it wholeheartedly. I might not know the connection directly. Or right now I might not see that connection, but I have this understanding that this recipe will give me what I'm looking for. So that sambandha, if it is there, we are ready to put forth effort and do things the way that is being said by that pramana. And prameya is that soup which is finally there, and I'm able to fulfill my hunger, satisfy my hunger with that soup. That is called as prayojanam. So when I actually enjoy the prameya, that is when the prayojanam is there. And one thing we should understand here is soup example will fall short in many places. The purpose of example is not to get stuck with it. we should know where it falls short, and we should also know where it is aligning. In just here, if you take the pramana, right, different people will have different ways of making minestrone soup. The way in which that soup is made might be different. But in case of Atma that we are looking for, there it doesn't apply. Okay, nature of Atma is the same. Different people won't discover different Atmas, different source of happiness. That is why it is called the truth. Right? Truth is only one. We cannot have many truths. So this is our, overall example, but we should understand where it falls short when we come to actual thing. Our goal is to come to Atma. So here, the soup is different from the individual who is wanting to have that soup. But in case of Atma, it is not like that. The nature of truth or nature of Atma is me, myself. I am of the nature of happiness already. It is not something different from me that I have to go and attain. Okay, then somebody might say, if it is already attained, why put forth effort? He says, we don't need to put forth effort to attain Atma. We need to put forth effort to let go of that which we have erroneously included in Atma. I will repeat it again. We don't need to put forth effort to attain happiness, to attain this eternal bliss. We need to put forth effort to remove that what we have included in that absolute bliss. So that includes our body, mind, world outside, whatever it is, all of that has been mixed up in this word I. When we say I, we first refer to our physical body, or it will refer to mind. So effort that we need to put into Vedanta sadhana is to clearly understand what we are not. Atma is already attained. And another effort that we need to put is in purifying this pramata. Because pramana is already taken care of. Veda pramana, what we have, that is flawless. Prameya is also perfect, Atma. But more effort where we have to put is in pramata. So that is going to be the plan. You read whichever text, this is how it will be. First portion is cleansing or improving pramata. And second portion is getting clarity of knowledge, understanding what is the nature of that prameya. Okay. With this, now we'll move on to our actual purpose. How is sadhana, Anubandha Chatushtaya being indicated by this Mangalacharanam? That is where we have to go. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Abhidhiyate. So Mumukshu is our Adhikari, the one who will benefit the most from the study of this text. And in Gurudev's BMI chart, if we see, what forms the Mumukshu is in that dotted box. One is he should have this desire, right? That samskara should be there, vasana should be there, which is a Shubha Vasana, which is asking this question, is there something which is an eternal source of happiness? What we discussed in the first class. And if you notice, Adhikari is formed out of vasanas, the mind, intellect, and this person, the perceiver, feeler, and thinker. And purposely, this body has been left out. Because in Vedanta sadhana, Vedanta adhikari, what type of body we have is not a criteria. The main criteria of adhikari of Vedanta is what is our heart. Are we seeking, or do we have this question or not, of seeking some eternal source of happiness? The direction of search of the seeker has changed from objects towards something else, which is Atma. If that switch has happened, that person is called mumukshu. Situations, objects, people which are there, that falls under the realm of objects over here. Adjusting objects so that situations can change, changing our environment, group of people. All of that we saw earlier has its own purpose. And Vedanta sadhaka will take care of it in whatever way it has to be taken care of. But the main purpose, the main question that this sadhaka has is this one. Then we say this person has become now adhikari of Vedanta. Means he will benefit the most from the study of this text. Now, if somebody doesn't have this question, they will still benefit from other things. And study of Vedanta for all of us, if we don't have this question, it will gradually bring this point. Okay, so who is the adhikari? Mumukshu is the adhikari, also called as pramata. You can map it with our minestrone soup example. What is the Vishaya? So there the Vishaya was soup. Over here, Vishaya is Tattva Bodha. What is the nature of this self? Is it finite, limited to this body? Is it something that is glowing inside my body? Now and then I'm able to get a glimpse of it. Is it like that? Or is it infinite? That clear knowledge is the Vishaya. Knowledge about nature of Atman. And that is why I said the soup example falls short over here. It is not that we are not experiencing Atman right now, or we don't have any idea about Atman. At least this much we know, that I am existing. I am not a non-existent entity, I exist. We know this also, that I am sentient. I am not an inert entity, I am speaking, I can listen. So this much we know that we are sentient. But the problem comes in, we think that we are finite. So Vedanta will help us understand our true nature as Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa, and Ananda Swarupa. Now those words will be elaborated later, so we will keep it at that point. Okay, but we will just understand this much here, that Vishaya of Vedanta is to know nature of Atman. Now to do that, a lot of sadhanas will be pointed out. Tuning of BMI, how to purify our vasanas, how to have Shubha vasanas. All of that will be pointed out, but we should not miss the main subject. Okay, with that, even our transactional life will become very good, with less problems. But we should not stop there. Vedanta says, let us go to the next step. So in this case also, just like the recipe was chosen according to the means, or according to the Vishaya, the means of knowledge was chosen according to the subject matter. Prameya you call or Vishaya. Here also, according to the Vishaya that we want to elaborate, appropriate means of knowledge has to be chosen. And that appropriate means of knowledge is our text, Tattva Bodha. That is what we mean by Vedanta is Pramana. And Tattvabodha has Upanishads as its basis, so it also becomes secondary pramana. Pramana means means of knowledge. Okay, so this is the subject matter. Sambandha is a relationship. Between that recipe and that soup, there was sambandha, right? Recipe was means of knowledge, and that soup was my object of knowledge. So here also, between the pramana, which is Tattvabodha, this text that we are going to study, that and the subject matter, what is the nature of Atman? Between that, there is sambandha. So mumukshunam hitarthaya tattvabodha abhidhiyate. Means this text I am composing, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is saying, because this text itself will reveal your vishaya that you are looking for. That eternal happiness which all of us are seeking, whether we verbalize it or not. In everything that we are seeking, we want permanent things, right? Relationships, if they are there, do we want temporary relationships or permanent relationship? We get a job somewhere, do we want temporary job or permanent job? So eternal search has been our quest since a long time. Vedanta is just systematically putting it into words. Okay, so this is our sambandha between pramana and prameya. Okay, this is our prameya and between our pramana. Now comes the next one, which is prayojanam. So prayojanam is hidden in this entire Mangalacharanam, means mukti. Liberation itself is the prayojanam. Having discovered what is eternal nature of happiness, how I am that eternal happiness, not only knowing it, but also being able to revel in it. That is what we call as Jivan Mukti. So this text is going to unfold like this. The end portion of Tattvabodha is going to be about Jivan Mukti. Adhikari portion will be elaborated in the beginning of the text. Vishaya portion, nature of Atman, that will also be there. And Sambandha we should understand. What Sambandha will do is, lot of things will be spoken about. Sometimes we might feel is very technical. We might feel it is very theoretical. But if Sambandha is clear, if Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has written it, then he is elaborating it because it is going to tell me what I am looking for. And it is up to us to find that connection. And more we are able to find it, more clarity we will get. That portion is called as Mananam. We are dwelling upon, okay, this part I have read it in this text now. How is it connected with the goal that was promised? Okay, that is called as Anubandha Chatushtaya. Okay. Each part of it will connect us with the text. Each part of it will keep us inspired with studying this text. Now Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji moves on to the next portion after Mangalacharanam. He is saying, now I will elaborate the art of inquiring into the truth. Let us read this. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannadhikarinam Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannadhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshamaha Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshamaha Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannadhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshamaha. Now I am going to elaborate Tattva Viveka Prakara. How to conduct inquiry into this truth, into this eternal happiness. There is a roadmap. This itself shows that liberation is through clear, thorough inquiry. It is not by merely, keeping our hand on somebody. If that was the case, then that should have been elaborated here. But Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, I'm going to tell you Tattva Viveka Prakara. Why? Because it is Moksha Sadhana Bhutam. This enquiry itself is a means for liberation. Even in other subjects that we study, we say that, we have to develop an insight into that subject. Our Swamiji used to give an example. If you are solving a math problem, and we have the last answer which is there, right? Sometimes they have prove this thing. And then there is last proof that this is what it is. Just by looking at that answer, sometimes the answer is given at the back of the book, right? By looking at that answer, this is the final thing what is there. We have not understood that subject. What we have to know is how to reach to that point. How did I go from step A to step B, from step B to step C, and finally how did I reach that step Z? So that way of thinking is called as Tattva Viveka Prakara. Tattva means that truth, Viveka means inquiring, Prakara means method. So will everybody benefit from this inquiry, from understanding this inquiry? Bhagavan says there is a clause. Those who are sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, who have fourfold qualifications, they will benefit from this inquiry. They will be prompted to do this inquiry, and while doing it, they will benefit the most. Now, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is going to use these words and he will elaborate on each word. Like, for example, he has used the word sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikarinam. So next verse, he will explain what he means by sadhana chatushtaya, what he means by tattva viveka. Each phrase of this sentence he is going to elaborate now. And this is a art of studying this text. Okay, that every word that is being used, getting clarity about what is the Shastra meaning of that word. What does Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji mean by this particular word? Okay, that is the main part over here. What is the one takeaway? That liberation is not with any quick method. Liberation is by understanding the way to inquire. Asamshayam samagrammam yatha jnasasi tachrunu. In Bhagavad Gita also Bhagavan says, I will tell you this knowledge thoroughly. And with this you won't have any doubts. If you have doubts, clarify it. But there should not be ambiguity about what is the nature of truth and how do we reach there. Okay, Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha. Now, the first word he is elaborating, Sadhana Chatushtaya. What is this Sadhana Chatushtaya? That is being explained here. Sadhana Chatushtayam Kim, Sadhana Chatushtayam Kim, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah, Iha Mutrartha Phala Bhoga Viragah, Iha Mutrartha Phala Bhoga Viragah, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi, Mumukshutvam Cha Iti, Mumukshutvam Cha Iti, Sadhana Chatushtayam Kim, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekah, Iha Mutrartha Phala Bhoga Viragah, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi, Mumukshutvam Cha Iti. What is this Sadhana Chatushtaya? Sadhana Chatushtaya literally means fourfold qualification. We say Sadhana Chatushtaya is 4 things, but within one, 6 other things are included. So first one he says is Vivekaha, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. We will just see the word because elaboration is coming now. Iha amutrartha phalabhoga viragaha. So viveka means ability to distinguish between what is eternal and what is not eternal, what is permanent and what is impermanent. Vairagya means having dispassion from bhoga, enjoyments of this world and other worlds. All of these are adhikari lakshana. Third one is shamadhi shatka sampatti, 6 inner wealth. Now we will just see the literal meaning. Later on we will see the details. First one is called shamaha. Second is damaha. Third one is uparama. Fourth is titiksha. Fifth is shraddha. Sixth one is samadhanam. You don't have to worry about noting these names right now. This is just a depiction of what was said in that sentence. And the fourth sadhana chatushtaya is mumukshutvam. Fourfold qualification. One is viveka, second vairagya, third is shamadhi shatka sampatti, fourth is mumukshutvam. And this is so wonderful that again and again a sadhaka should bathe themselves in what this sadhana chatushtaya is talking about. It's like a mirror, again and again we should look in it and see where we are with all these qualifications. And where will we get all these qualifications? Where will I go to get these qualifications? Bhagavan has said, for this purpose only this whole universe is there. All different ashramas are there. Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. If we have the right attitude, our daily life will become a university for us to gain these qualifications. How it is, we will see later. Okay, but first thing we should appreciate is that it is something we can gain in this world, and that is the whole purpose of what we do from morning till evening. And another thing to note here is person who is, now these are all adhikari for Brahma Vidya. A person who has these qualifications, person who is qualified for spiritual life, will automatically or by default be efficient in the world. Other way need not be true. Person who is efficient in the world need not necessarily have spiritual inclination. But if person is thoroughly prepared for spiritual life, that person has to be very efficient in the world outside. Because spiritual journey demands these qualifications. But another thing is that being efficient in the world will be a byproduct. In that itself should not be our main goal. If we are sincerely following spiritual life, following what is meant by these qualifications, our life in this world will be very easy. It is just like somebody who is training for an Olympics. All the effort that they put in for that training, healthy body is an outcome of that. Means it's a byproduct. If somebody has trained for Olympics, they have a healthy body by default. They should have a healthy body by default. So in the same way, somebody who is striving for Brahma Vidya, if they have these qualifications, their performance in the world has to be good. So for that, we have to inquire, what is the precise meaning of each of these qualifications. Okay, so let us start with the first one now. Now, out of fourfold, first qualification is Viveka. Okay, so Viveka is what is elaborated here in this verse. Nitya nitya vastu vivekah kaha. 'Nitya-nitya-vastu-vivekah-kah. 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 'Nitya- Nityavastu ekam brahma, Nityavastu ekam brahma, Tadvyatiriktam sarvamanityam, Tadvyatiriktam sarvamanityam, Ayameva nitya nityavastu vivekah, Ayameva nitya nityavastu vivekah, Nitya nityavastu vivekah kah, Nityavastu ekam brahma, Tadvyatiriktam sarvamanityam, Ayameva nitya nityavastu vivekah. So literal translation of this is a question asked by the student. Oh teacher, what is nitya anitya vastu vivekah? Because in the previous verse you said viveka means distinguishing between nitya vastu and anitya vastu. So what is this viveka that is meant by distinguishing nitya and anitya? He says nitya vastu is brahma, nityam vastu ekam brahma. Tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. Other than this, everything else is anitya, impermanent. This alone is called as viveka between nitya and anitya. This viveka, what we are talking about in Vedanta, is distinction between what is permanent and what is impermanent. Now let us think about this. Now we should start with where we are. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has given us the goal. How do we reach to that point of nitya anitya vastu viveka? Permanent and impermanent. And I also hope you read Puja Guruji's commentary. All of these ideas are taken from there and what I have heard from our Swamiji. So viveka, to begin with, is given to every creature. Viveka, ability to distinguish, is you can call it as gift from Bhagwan. Goswamiji says in Vinaya Patrika, Jo sarkara milay sikata mahu, means where sand and sugar is mixed. Balatena kou bilagave. Nobody can separate them by force, that I am going to separate this sugar and salt. One needs a skill for it, and Bhagwan has given that skill to an ant. Ati rasajnya suchama pipilika. This ant has taste for sugar. That is what makes it be so good. That is what makes it become so good in distinguishing sand from sugar. Ati rasajnya, suchama, very, very minute, fine. This pipilika, binu prayasa hi pave. It is able to do this distinction without any effort. Why? Because it is adhikari for that viveka. Means it loves sugar so much that it is always looking for that sugar and sugar alone. And doesn't know, right? This is sand and this is sugar. It is only looking for sugar. And Goswamiji, in that Vinaya Patrika, he says, one who knows this art of viveka is happy. So now we have to ask for ourselves that this viveka shakti is given to everybody. But only difference is between what and what we end up doing viveka. And to what extent we have blossomed this quality in ourselves to do this kind of distinction. Samarthya it is called. Samarthya means ability. And to what extent vikasa of this samarthya has happened, means blossoming of this samarthya has happened. Because both of those things look very similar. That is where the problem comes. Now, where do we need to inquire or distinguish when two options look very similar? We have that poem, right? Two roads diverged into the woods. But here you cannot always take the one less traveled because you don't know. Both look similar. So when two options are very similar, that is when viveka is needed. And we are familiar with different types of viveka. We do it day in and day out. One viveka is called as hita ahita viveka. What is good for me and what is not good for me. And it looks like both options are very, very similar. Whether going to college A is good or whether going to college B is good. Whether taking up job A is good for me or taking up job B is good for me. Hita ahita means that what is good and what is not good. And when that situation comes, both options look very similar. The one who is able to distinguish between both, that person is a viveki. Another type of viveka is karya akarya viveka. What I should do and what I should not do. Should I call that person or should I not call that person? Karya akarya. Both of it has its own pros and cons. But one who is able to take a clear decision between both, that person is a viveki. Several examples we can take, but I hope all of you are getting the grasp of what is viveka. Two options looking similar, being able to distinguish between two clearly, that ability is called as viveka. The viveka that we are interested in is nitya anitya viveka. That is what Shankaracharya ji just told us. This viveka will come when we honestly inquire about nature of world. Everything that we see, everything, all relationships, all situations that we have seen in life, they have not stayed for a long time. Constantly, it is undergoing change. Our own body is undergoing change. Mind undergoes change. The type of convictions we had few years ago might be very different from convictions we have now. But the question is, amidst all these changes, is there something which is unchanging? Just knowing this fact that there is something which is unchanging and recognizing this world of change, this ability is called as viveka. And many a times, we ourselves will not come to this point that there is something called as nitya vastu, there is something called as brahma. Viveka, that is why the word is called viveka samarthya. Means after being told something, being able to think in that direction now. Like before coming to Vedanta, we did not know there was something called as Brahma. There was something called as eternal happiness. But once somebody has heard it now, Adhikari is the one who is very keenly looking for that thing now. Just like that ant, only looking for sugar and letting go of everything else. Okay, this is called as Nitya Anitya Viveka. This is the ability of intellect. And at least what they should take us to what point it should lead us to is this: that an impermanent thing cannot be the goal of my life. It is important, Vedanta is not dismissing any of those. What Vedanta is trying to say is that alone cannot become the sole goal of our life. Different anitya vastu we are familiar with. There are different objects. Some of it we recognize as anitya. Phone models keep changing and we want, a different model to replace it. So with objects, we know that there are so many of them, all of them are anitya. With situations, we know, circumstances, we know that they also keep changing. No matter what kind of a situation it is, Gurudev's quote is there, right? Even this will pass away. Means what? It is anitya. Whatever is there in terms of objects, whatever is there in terms of situations, people, all of that is no doubt important, but they alone cannot become our goal of life. I mean, they are good for appreciation, not good for taking support. Our Swamiji used to love this example of the paper decoration. He used to say all of these are good for appreciation, but you cannot lean on it. Moment you lean, you'll fall off. But irony is this, that Bhagwan and this truth, what is meant for taking support, that ends up only as a matter of appreciation in our life. Means we feel Bhagwan is there, I appreciate it. This truth is also there, I appreciate it. But I will seek support from something else. But what was meant to seek support from, that is what we have to go towards. This Viveka will give us that clarity, where we should go and what is our means to reach there. So we'll pause here because Viveka topic is something that requires more elaboration, and next topic is also important one, Vairagya. And it doesn't come in every text. That is why wherever it comes, we should spend sufficient time and thoroughly understand the import of that word. So there are some questions we will take. We'll conclude here. There are some announcements also, so please stay back. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. All right. We'll take some questions now. This is my first exposure to Vedanta. Which would you recommend should be my first study? Is there a sequence one should follow? Because you mentioned there are various texts for each practice. Yes, there is a sequence, because directly we cannot begin with an advanced text, because vocabulary needs to be very perfect, very thorough in the beginning. And concepts also should be very thorough. So our Gurudev has given a scheme of study, and even in our course in Sandipani, it is followed in a very systematic way. The first text which anybody or any student of Vedanta studies is Tattvabodha. For the same reason that we discussed in the beginning, a lot of precision in the text, in definitions, and key concepts are addressed in Tattvabodha. Elaboration of those concepts happens in Atma Bodha. So in those verses, a lot of other ideas are brought in, and one level is taken above, where with those words, with those terms, you are developing very solid concepts around Vedanta. And then Vivek Chudamani is there, which has more elaboration. What is Viveka? So Vivek Chudamani, 500 verses, 500 plus verses are there only on this Viveka and how to establish ourselves in this Viveka. So like this, different text that we take here also is keeping that in mind. For me also, that is how I will be studying for my sadhana, right? So systematic taking of text. And text by itself is not the prayojanam. Prayojanam is what we just saw. Tattva Viveka Prakara should be understood. How to think in Vedanta. That if we catch, then any text we can study. How to open up a topic so that we don't get strayed here and there in our thinking. Okay, that is this prayojanam. How to find a balance between Vyavaharik prayojanam and Vedantic prayojanam. How to find a balance or better understanding between Vyavaharik prayojanam and Vedantic prayojanam, especially when you are going through some difficult situation in life. So this is where the discussion on Sadhana Chatushtaya will be very helpful. Because Vedanta first wants us to build our inner strength. Right? When we say difficult situation in life, the way we will be facing that situation is not only with physical body. The way we will face that situation is with our mind, is with the kind of convictions that we have gained about this world, about Bhagwan. All of that will be at Vyavaharika level. And with putting forth effort in cultivating Sadhana Chatushtaya, Vyavaharika Prayojanam will become easier. That Prayojanam could be in difficult situations, being able to go through them without too much of ups and downs. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan uses the word titiksha. Means being able to forbear all the pairs of opposites without complaining. It is not tolerating those pairs of opposites, but going through them with joy and coming out of it with a stronger mind. What is the purpose of going through all of those through titiksha and through inner strength? That when we have come out of it, then we realize I have become stronger now. That portion also will be elaborated. That is why I said person who is spiritual is not somebody who has run away from the world because he could not do anything there. It is out of maturity that a person will seek for Nitya Vastu. And he will be very good in interacting with Anitya Vastu also. That is what this Sadhana Chatushtaya tells us. Right? So Vedantic Prayojanam is common across everybody. Means eternal happiness is not something only few are seeking and others are not seeking. But we have not defined it in that way. We have not understood it in that way. That is why Sambandha is important. That studying Vedanta will give me happiness, which is my own true nature. So again and again, we should do that connection. I might be doing so many things in life. All of that has only one purpose, that is to find happiness. Once we were sitting in Guruji's room, there was a satsang, and Guruji used to ask one question, and everybody has to answer. Short answers you should give, and finally Guruji will summarize that whole thing. And one question he asked was, how will you explain Vedanta to somebody who is very new, not having any background of this technical words or any kind of concepts of Vedanta? He has just come to ask you, what is Vedanta? So there were several answers that were there, but one answer I really liked, that was, Vedanta will tell us that if you are looking for happiness, where is the right place to look for happiness? If we are looking for happiness, where is the right place to look for that happiness? Now that might be our Nitya goal, the final goal that is there. And while reaching there, we will have so many other obstacles that keep coming. Sadhana Chatushtaya will help us go through those obstacles without losing sight of our final goal. Right? Physical problems might come, mind level problems might be there. How do we face all of that? Relationships, those problems also might be there. But more we understand how to strengthen our mind, better equipped we are to work with all these problems. Okay. Can goals and desires be independent, or are they the same? Can we have a life without goals or goals without desire? Here there are a couple of things to think about. First is desire need not be always a negative thing. Desire to have a pure mind is also a desire. So goal might be whatever, but what is our inherent desire behind that goal? Right? A person can become a doctor to earn more money, or that person can say, my desire is to serve people. So goal being the same, that desire decides whether it is a good goal or a not so good goal. So that, if we keep in mind, there is another thing that comes out of this thing. If we have our Vedic thinking, right? What is our Vedic thinking? That we have had several lives in the past, and this journey is going to continue after this body also. So the goal that I am having, we should think, is it going to serve its purpose only for this life? Or am I also adding, contributing towards my journey forward? So if the attitude becomes that whatever work I'm doing, whatever goal I have set, I am doing it only because it aligns with my spiritual goal. Even professional goals, what we have, going to such a point that it gives us purity of mind, and that pure mind only gives us happiness. So then our karma becomes karma yoga. Same thing, goal is the same, action is the same, but desire has become different now. That desire is not only limited to this life or some kind of worldly gain, it is more related to inner wealth. If you want to put it in wealth terms, desire is not only for outer wealth, it is also for inner wealth. So that is when this whole topic will make more sense on what is goal, what is desire. Whatever we are doing in life, it should always have this Nitya Vastu, moksha, as our final prayojanam. And to help us to reach to that point, different texts are there. Like for example, Bhaja Govindam, if somebody says, why should I have moksha as my prayojanam? So Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, let us sit down. And using our own day-to-day experience, our own facts of life that we have seen, Bhagwan says, this is why we should have moksha as our goal. Right? This is not a Bhaja Govindam session, so we will not go there. But those who have studied Bhaja Govindam should look at it in this light. If somebody has the question, why should I have moksha as my goal? So somebody should be there who can show us the limitations of impermanent goal. And the teacher knows that the student won't go away. Because in the world, if you read Bhaja Govindam, people will run away. They will say, what kind of text is this? But Vedanta knows that there are some seekers who will be ready to listen to the limitations. They will know how to interact, relate to those limitations, and strive for something higher. Okay, that becomes purpose of texts like Bhaja Govindam. Here also we will see a little bit in Vairagya, but it gives us more insight if we look at it in that way. So the last question here that I have is, in the soup example, there is a desire for the soup. What if there is no desire? Anubandha Chatushtaya, what we saw, right? This is exactly what happens. If there is no desire for the soup, then this person won't put wholehearted effort in finding the right recipe. Even if that person ends up making that soup, it will be half-hearted. Because desire is not there, that prompting in that direction won't be wholehearted. Now imagine somebody is studying Vedanta without this desire of wanting to find that eternal happiness. That person will study. We cannot say that that person won't benefit at all or he won't study at all. That person will study, but that effort won't be wholehearted. Viveka won't be like that ant. Means he will seek Nitya Vastu also and he will hold on to Anitya Vastu also. More likely Anitya Vastu, and now and then Nitya Vastu he will just keep referring back to. Okay, so that is how this thing will go. Okay, so I don't see any questions for today. So if there are any questions, you can submit it on the Google form. And later on, we'll take it in the next session. Okay. Hari Om, everyone. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.